Hey everyone, welcome to the Gauge. Becca here. Before we get started, I wanted to thank everyone who's tuned in so far. I super appreciate you. If you have a second to subscribe to our channel and be sure to follow us on socials to keep up with any announcements or updates that we have coming up. I have a very special guest today, Jess Bolet, real estate broker from Western North Carolina. Hey Jess, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
That's awesome. So we'll go ahead and just kick things right off. If you want to tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started with your broker journey in Western North Carolina.
Yeah. So I am a first generation Cuban American. I was born in Miami and I was raised in Charlotte, moved to Asheville about 15 years ago. And I was in hospitality and retail management for a long time. And I was a manager at Verizon. And these two girls came in, Jackie and Julia. They own WNC Real Estate Photography, and I was helping them out, and they were like, "You'd be really great at real estate," and I was like, "Oh, that's like a little scary, like working for
Yeah.
yourself, right?" And they're like, "Well, we have our own business. Like you'd be great at it," and I was like, I seriously thought about it. So I decided to take that jump and I did it. And it's been very lucrative. I'm married and I have a 1-year-old. So, taking those big steps is scary, but
Right.
it was definitely a good move for my family. I was able to, you know, not have that 9 to 5 and be able to spend the first year with my daughter, and have her with me all the time. She was my showing partner. So
Oh,
now she's in daycare, so that we're in a whole different realm,
yeah.
but it's awesome. So that's kind of how I got started out, and it's been awesome ever since. So
That's amazing.
yeah,
Wow. How serendipitous, just like the timing of these ladies coming into your store, meeting you,
yeah.
and just the little small moments that can direct you into these huge shifts in your life. That's amazing that it's worked out for you. Now, I read your bio and a little bit about you. We've talked a little bit through email, and you like to focus on first time home buyers. What motivated you to really focus on first time home buyers, and how do you make their journey less confusing? Someone who has no idea really what they're getting into with the housing market. Do you have any feedback and things that you want to chime in on with that?
Yeah, definitely. So I bought my first home when I was 30. I'm 35 now. So I when I got into real estate, I had only bought and sold that one house, right? So I know how complicated and hard it can be for people. And
Right.
if you've ever taken any kind of personality test, all my personality tests come back and they're like, "Oh, you're a helper. Like you love helping people," right?
Yeah.
So that being genuinely who I am, just a natural helper. I love taking people from point A all the way to point Z and helping them just find exactly what they're looking for.
Right.
And the biggest part of that, I think, is it comes down to the consultation. First step,
Mhm.
setting up that appointment. The hardest step for any person is reaching out, right? It's that
Right.
taking that first jump, taking that first step. So as soon as they reach out, I kind of like take them under my wing and I take them through the consultation, tell them all about what they can expect. And I continue to let them have questions and I try to be as transparent as I can about everything
Right.
I know, and impart
Right.
wisdom. So I love it.
Yeah, so I was reading through some of your reviews, and it just sounds like you're a whole heap of knowledge, and people really admire that about you, is that there is transparency and you do provide knowledge around what they're getting into and what they can expect, which, I mean, I feel like I haven't bought a house yet, but I do feel like I would have 1,000 questions. So to work with someone who's already answering those questions before I have to ask tells me that they're educated and they've done their work to know this knowledge behind what we're getting into. And that's really reassuring. So kudos to you. That's awesome.
Just becoming a student of the industry was like the biggest help too. So
Right. Yeah, and wanting to continue to keep learning, because it's not like you get your real estate license, your broker license, and then you don't have to apply yourself and gain more educational bits as the journey progresses, right? You have to keep
Right.
going and being a student every day, showing up for it, and the
Yeah.
ever-changing market as well, because God knows that it's ever-changing up and
It
down
is.
always.
It is. I learn something new every day. So, and
Right.
I try to help all those people that I do help. Like I try to share what I know. And
Yeah.
what I don't know, I find out. So,
Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. Is there any common misconceptions you think with first-time home buyers? And with
yeah.
those, how do you address those?
Yeah, so some of like the main common misconceptions that you'll come across is, you know, if you talk to anybody in our age range and they're talking to their parents are probably going to tell them, "Oh, you need 20% down." You know, you
Right.
probably heard that one.
Yes.
You probably think that you have to have a perfect credit score. You probably think that you don't have like that you need zero debt to be able to buy a house. You don't need much of those things. The only thing you need to do really to help you start that process is talk to a lender. And if you talk to the right one, they will guide you to where you need to be to buy a house, which is a great thing, right? Some of the other things are some other misconceptions I would think of would be like waiting for those rates to come down too.
Right.
You can always what I say is like there's never a perfect time, but there's always a perfect time to invest in yourself. A
Right.
house is an investment. First time home buyers don't really stay in their house longer than 5 years. They sell within 2 to 5 years of owning their first home,
Mhm.
especially this younger age range, right?
Right.
It's just a starter home to get their feet wet and to get into a home that they own, to start accruing that equity in it so that they can turn around and buy something else later on.
Right.
So those are some of the common ones. The 20% down, that one's a little bit that's steep, right?
Right.
So there are programs out there where you can put zero down, like a USDA loan, as long as you're in that part of the country where you can get one, right? The
Mhm.
other thing is like there are some programs out there where you can put as little as 3 to 5% down, but that
Mhm.
all comes down to that lender. Um, but I definitely say talk to a lender, get approved. There you don't have to know everything either. You don't have to like educate yourself. If you have a really great real estate agent, if you have a really great inspectors that you're working with, the vendors that you're partnering up with, they'll explain everything you need to know. So that's the good part about it.
For sure. Do you now you keep speaking back to partnering with a good lender. Do
Uh-huh.
you have any advice for people that are looking for lenders that maybe haven't reached out to a realtor yet? Would you suggest them to reach out to a realtor first to connect to a lender? Or are there signs that indicate that it's a good partnership, a good lender, or any red flags with lenders?
So I wouldn't say any red flags, but I would say shop around. So like your credit
Right,
bureau is going to know that you're shopping for a loan. So they're not going to ding you more than that one time or
right.
however many times, but they know that you're shopping for a loan. So you
Okay.
have, depending on, I've heard, different things that you have 35 to 45 days to shop for a loan
Mhm.
or so. But I definitely would say shop around, try to get the best rate. The cool thing about it is they will have it in the same format, so you can compare right there in front of you one loan to the other, right?
Right,
So
okay.
that's a good thing. You also want to ask them what options you have for like buying down your rate, or what kind of concessions you would need to help you close. How
Okay.
overall, how much is it going to cost me to get into this house?
Mhm.
Partnering with real estate agents, I like making connections with new people all day long. So if you have someone that you already know that you want to use as your lender, go ahead and use them. You know,
Yeah.
me, I have a list that I keep of lenders, and I love working with everybody. So I say talk to everybody. Talk to all
Yeah.
the ones that I have. Talk to all the ones that your real estate agents have for you,
Right.
and see what fits you best.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I did hear that too, that if you, because I was starting to navigate just buying a home a couple years ago, and I put a pause on it. But something that I was unaware of is when you're working with lenders, your credit each time they run a credit score isn't going to be affected if you're in that window, the certain frame that you can get the credit scores and match around and see what other lenders are offering, which is really nice because I didn't know that. And I'm like, wait, I have to go to another lender and like my credit score is going to be all jacked up. But
Yeah.
um, so that's reassuring.
And there's
Uh,
also they all and sometimes they'll have different programs for you too. And
mhm.
I definitely would ask, like what is there a certain program out there that would help me out best? Like, I've had some businesses or some people that own their own business, and they might need a different kind of package that a normal lender might not be able to offer them. They might want to pay
Yeah,
off that house or whatever they buy quickly, as quick as possible. So
right.
that's why I say shop around, because you never know what's out there. You don't know what you don't know.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. Absolutely. Um, so your business has been doing really well. Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Do you have any marketing techniques that over the years you've found to be most successful with just getting your name out there?
Yeah. So I mean, I had I've had a lot of people tell me to lean into who I am, and I was like, okay, like, what do you mean by that? Like, yeah, I'm somewhat of a comedian sometimes, but not all the time. But yeah, so I leaned to the whole thing of being part of the queer community, right?
Yeah.
So my website is the Asheville Queer Broker, ashevillequeerbroker.com. Um, but I also use the hashtags like Asheville or AVL Queer Broker, AVL Queer Realtor, all those things. That has helped push me out there. Going to different events. So I go to as many Pride events as I can afford. Like
Yeah.
if I can afford it, I'm going to that Pride event. I'm going to have a tent
Right.
there. I'm going to have a basket to give away. I'm going to have all kinds of vendor partners listed helping me out. I reach out to them for stuff to put in the baskets, like gift cards, buying little rainbow dinosaurs, like little things like that. Just cute
Yeah.
little things to throw out there. And how I do it is I link it back to a CRM. So when people sign up for it, all their names and phone numbers are collected. Um, I tell them they might get some kind of marketing report from me, and they're like, "Oh, that's
Mhm.
fine, cool." Like,
Yeah.
I'll let you know what's going on in the market, be super transparent with them. And then I can also give those names to my vendor partners as well, and
Mhm.
they can send them newsletters or whatever it is they want to send. So I think the best marketing techniques I've used is definitely social media. You don't have to have a lot of money for social media to link
Right.
to market yourself on social media. 5, 10
Right.
bucks over a couple of days hits 500 people. You know,
Right.
it's not super hard, but the events definitely have helped me out. I got this. If you've ever seen the movie Big, have you ever seen that movie Big?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got this giant piano that goes on the ground that little kids love playing
Oh
on.
my gosh.
And then I bring in hula hoops and bubbles, and I do these like
Aw.
little sacks with my business card, of course, in it, candy, but like a little bubbles in there, and
Aw.
buttons and pins and stickers and all that. And I put that together. And whenever someone comes up, I hand them the little packet. And this past
Right.
time I had a coloring page too and some crayons
Aw.
there. So I think, if you can attract, just a little bit of fun, people are going to come to you. If you
Right.
have some music, if you have, I always put on like a pride playlist, like on a JBL speaker, and people are always dancing in front of my tent, having a great time, playing
Yeah.
the piano, hula hooping. You get, I mean, I've had a lot of elderly people that will come and play on the piano too, and they love it, just not like along with the kids.
Right.
Or dogs. I love it when dogs run across that thing. It's so cute.
Right.
But I try to maintain just a high level of energy and fun when I go to these events. But that's how I've been marketing. I would consider organic marketing because I'm
Yeah.
just meeting people. I'm out there in front of them. Uh,
Absolutely.
pay couple $100 to set up a tent and have fun. So I've gotten a few clients from that. I also have a Facebook group called um, it's called Asheville Queer Families, and
Mhm.
I started about a year ago. I have about 700 people on that or so, and that has also helped with just attracting people to me, but also when I've had clients move here and they don't know anybody and they are part of the queer community and they have kids and they don't know how to make friends in their 30s because you're running around like crazy with your child,
Right. Yeah.
how are you going to make friends? Like, so I decided to make this group, and it's helped. We try to do an event at least once a month. Um, and it's helped people make friends. It's awesome. So just bringing people together.
I love that. That's so awesome. And I feel like you are a true testament to the fact of leaning into your genuine self and what already is apparent in your life. We had another guest, Natalie Jenkins, Carpe Diem Inspections, and that was something about her and one of her marketing techniques. She has teal hair. She's also known online as the teal inspectress on her Instagram. And she's really kind of leaned into this teal branding. And some of the things that she had to speak about was just leaning into what you're already good at and what people have told you you do well at. And it sounds like you're really great at creating a safe space for people to just have fun and laugh and live life, which I mean, I could only imagine that if I was looking for a broker, that you would be someone that would stay in my mind of this, how safe I felt, how happy I felt, and what you're providing in your booths, and just who you are. You're a super friendly person. And I do think that meeting people face to face leaves a longer impression than say something online, seeing your picture online on a website. Not to
Yeah.
say those things don't help, but I do think that the face to face is definitely where it's at. So
I always say that I feel like my pictures just look so goofy, and it doesn't show who I am, obviously.
right,
But I definitely get more business. I get more clients. I make more friends when I'm in person rather than
right.
behind a picture somewhere or like speaking through a graphic. Like if I'm having a conversation with somebody, we're becoming family right away. So that's how I am. So
I
that's
love that so much. Yeah, I really do love that. And hopefully it encourages other people that are listening to this podcast to just really lean into being you and not be afraid to get out there and just be yourself and meet people. And there are people that will gravitate towards you and your energy, and to just have faith in who you are, and what you're representing. So great job.
thanks.
um, and then the web team recently told me that you switched brokers and you had them build you a new website. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience and what that was like working with our web team?
Definitely. So at some point in your business and anybody's business, you kind of hit this like wall where you're like, okay, what's my next step? Like, how do I expand? What do I do differently? So I got a business coach. Her name's Laura Dahl. She's amazing. She's been doing real estate for like 25 years and is big in Nashville. Like
Mhm.
she's shown houses to like big country music stars, all kinds of stuff, right? So I was like, yeah, let me partner up with her. So I decided to switch brokerages because she was joining this brokerage. I was like, I want to join your team. Like, you're super successful. Like, I want to continue my success.
Mhm.
And she's helped me put in some really great systems and practices into place. And one of the things that I've been working on, that I started working on, that led to kind of like a little rebranding, was guides on how to or guides on how to like buy a house, guides on how like about this area and what to
Mhm.
do, rainy day activities. And a lot of some of those guides stemmed from the Asheville Queer Families group, because what do you do on a rainy day with your kid, in the
Mhm.
summer or when it's snowing? So I had all these guides, and I had a color scheme that I picked out, and it wasn't matching my website color scheme
Mhm.
so much. And so I was like, you know what, like these are going to be my colors. So I kind of like started there. I had these guides. I had some ideas of what I wanted to do. So I typed up a really nice email and I was like, I am so sorry. I know you guys just started this website not too long ago, but do you mind if we do these changes? And I got an email back, no problem. And they sent me a link just a couple days after that, and it was totally everything that I wanted. It was awesome. So
Aw.
it was just really sweet, and I can put that website anywhere, and it definitely matches more of where I want to go. You know,
Right.
I incorporated a lot of greens, a lot of there's a little bit of teal in there, but but like the greens, the beiges, it's kind of like more, it reminds me more of the mountains. It reminds me more of this
Right.
area. It's super lush here. You wouldn't know it, but my grass outside, I mowed it just a couple days ago and
Yeah.
it's fully overgrown. So I mean, that kind of stuff. Like, I love this area. I wanted it to be more cohesive, and they
Right.
helped me get there for sure. So
Was the process pretty simple? I know that you have the ability to customize a lot. Um,
yeah.
just curious if the process was super time consuming on your end, or did HomeGauge help out with a lot of the legwork and just more visualization, customizations bits they got from you? And overall, are you pretty stoked with how it turned out?
I
And
I'm beyond stoked with how it turned out. It looks so good. It was really easy. I mean, I think the hardest part was like going to the color wheel and getting your code. Like, I mean,
right,
that wasn't even that hard. Like, I knew exactly what colors I wanted. I I went on the way I make my docs, all my docs, I use Canva. So it's the colors scheme, or the code for the colors right there. So I just
right.
copied and pasted it. The amount of different like widgets and things that you can throw onto your website is like, there's a lot of different options, right?
Right.
I love the fact that they linked my Instagram on there, and they linked my different reviews as well on there.
Yeah.
And I my reviews are like, they're like, it's like more important to me. It's like, when you have like a little box of notes and stuff that you've kept from friends over the years, or like,
Right.
or notebooks that you took, like, just really deep notes in, like your journal. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that's how I hold my reviews. Like, they're kind of like these like little notes that people send to me, but they're for everyone else to see too. Like,
Right.
it's nice that I was able to help those people and they felt comfortable enough leaving me a review. So
For
I
sure.
and I'm
Reviews
I
are definitely gold.
yeah, for sure. And it's hard to even ask for a review, right?
Right.
Like, I helped you out. Do you mind writing me a little review? Like, and it's never a big deal to people, but
Right.
I admire those people that do that for me. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, and yours, how they have it set up on your website, which I really loved, is that it's almost like a carousel at the bottom. So it like
Mhm.
goes through the reviews. So I just sat there and I'm reading through them, and they're all lovely, of course, but what a
Yeah.
great way to showcase all the hard work that you put into each client. And having that review really means a lot to small business owners and business owners in general. So
Yeah,
that's
and
pretty
that,
awesome.
even though it's like linked to my Instagram too, my Instagram is about real estate, right? I
Yeah.
still post pictures of my family on there, and
Mhm.
um, I love that that can also be part of it too, and a part of
Right.
the website, because I it shows that I'm human,
For
and a lot of
sure.
times when you look at vendors or you look at a real estate broker, you're like, oh, they're just there to make a buck, but really, like,
Yeah.
it does come down to my family, like, and it comes down to all the people that I'm helping. So I
Right.
love it.
Yeah, I've worked in social media for, gosh, it's been maybe 10 years. And that's one of the things that is most successful, is humanizing your brand. So if you go to someone's Instagram page and it's just graphics nonstop, no faces, salesy, just not really human like, more digital just graphics, you're going to have less of an engagement rate than if you have pictures of your family, what your inspection looks like, the house that you just sold, your clients that you work with. That's going to give you way more engagement than just a Canva graphic. Not to say that the graphics aren't nice to throw in there every once in a while, but I do think having the balance is really the creme de la creme.
For sure.
And something else I just wanted to touch on that's really awesome. If you do get a website with HomeGauge and you are a broker, there are going to be moments, and I'm sure you can testify for this, that you change pathways and maybe you work with a different broker after 2-3 years, or you start your own business, something like that. When you are hosted with HomeGauge, they can easily just switch things over for you. So you don't have to go through the whole process of starting a new website build or, creating a new domain. They do all that legwork for you to make the process as seamless as possible. So another great thing, if you decide to go in a different direction in the future, that HomeGauge has your back in making those adjustments to your website. So just another tidbit on websites with HomeGauge.
It's super easy, and they lay it all out in steps too, like what you need to do. Getting started, they're like, they use words like domain, and if you don't work with computers, you're like, what's a domain?
Yeah.
Like, what's this? What's that?
Yeah.
But the steps are it's just so easy to read that it's not hard to do if you follow
Right.
this, which is
They
awesome.
really have gotten a solid process down, and the web team is super knowledgeable. They're all so passionate about what they do to make the process even easier. Having that knowledge, like we were just talking about, makes you feel more at ease, because websites are expensive, and taking the leap to establish a website for yourself, that's a huge step in itself. So kudos to our web team.
Yes.
So as you know, HomeGauge is a home inspection software company, and I worked in support for 5 years, talking with inspectors all the time. Then I branched over into doing the social media for HomeGauge, which I love doing. I still talk to inspectors, not in the support sense with our product, but more are on the marketing side of things. So as a broker, how do you connect with inspectors? And then do you have any tips for home inspectors that are maybe just starting out, or they move to a new area and they want to connect with realtors to try to form a relationship to help your clients out that are looking to buy?
Yeah. So I definitely connect with them obviously at events you're gonna have vendors, and a lot of times you have home inspectors there. I always pick up a card. I always talk to them. I always ask them what their reports look like. And I try to engage with the different people on the team too, because you have a home inspector and then they'll have a team of, however many, right?
Right.
I definitely will recommend one or two home inspection companies to my buyers that I've used in the past, but I've met a lot of home inspectors, right?
Right.
So if someone has a home inspector that they prefer to use over the ones that I recommend, obviously, like, bring them on. I want to meet them.
Mhm.
But the way I engage with them mostly is I try to at a event, because there's all kinds of there's always attorneys like putting on events. There's all
Right.
kinds of people. So I definitely like try to go to those events and meet those people, right? But the way that I would recommend for a new home inspector to start procuring business, go to open houses. Drop off your card, meet the real estate agent. You don't have to meet all the people coming in, but go meet the real estate agent. That's a good way to go to them. And see if how many people you can meet, like engage,
Right.
open yourself up to that. I've had home inspectors come into an open house of mine and they'll give a card, but they'll also give like a discounted rate, like, hey, 30% off or 25% off
Oh,
next one. And it will be like or they'll drop off like what looks like scratch offs, like a scratch off
Mhm.
ticket, and it'll have like something off on it, or like a free radon
Okay.
inspection with an inspection or
Like
something.
a mystery scratch off. What is it gonna be that you
Right, right, and I love that. I think, clients love that. I think it's so cute to have, because there are gonna be so many people coming into a to an open house, right? So if you have
right,
that laying there, right, like, right there for someone to pick up, um, regardless of if they're real estate agents with them or not, they have that little card with them, and they're gonna remember that person. Um,
right.
swag is huge, just having pens or having a little tiny measuring tape or anything like that. Like those things
Mhm.
are um, things that are like in bulk, they're pretty inexpensive, but people will have them on them at all times. A little flashlight, with their name on it. They're gonna remember
Right,
that person. So it doesn't take a lot to start engaging, but I love meeting new people, like I said, but um, getting out there, getting
right,
out there and putting your name out there. Uh,
right.
but yeah, love it.
Yeah, I think that's something that I actually haven't heard a lot of, going to the open houses, but that's such a smart idea, especially if a home inspector is at an open house and they connect with somebody that's there on something that's totally unrelated to the home buying process. That
Yeah.
connection could lead them to work in the future, could lead them to referrals. So I think just applying yourself to get out there to these open houses where people are going to need an inspector or
Yeah.
brokers are going to want to make connections. I think that's a super, super helpful tip.
Another good idea would be like if you see an open house that's going to be coming soon, like it's going to be like this Saturday, right? And you have a real estate agent,
Mhm.
you got all their information and it's Thursday. Hey, can I buy the snacks for your open house? A couple chip clips with their card on it too go a long way. Like
That's
just
smart.
Yeah, and I mean, chips are super inexpensive. I mean,
Right.
I'm always looking for like the not the cheapest way to do things, but like it's most cost effective with a big return. So,
Right. Yeah, you could just go to Sam's Club, Costco, just the little things, I
yeah,
think. And honestly, just applying yourself, making the effort, not being lazy about it, I think shows, wow, this person went out of their way to reach out to me to see how they could help. They're
yeah.
trying to make a connection. I think that that effort there is super impressionable to remember them. So,
And you don't need a home inspection just when you're buying a home. Like you can market to a neighborhood and just be like, "Hey, do you want to check out you want us to check out your major systems?"
right.
There are a lot of people that don't want to get it in their attic for multiple reasons, but
Mhm.
they don't know they might not know that there could be like a leak up there or a beam
Right.
that needs to be sistered or something like that. Like I think that's also a good way to market yourself if you're new is like um, you know, offer just home inspections like without having to buy a house.
Right, like maintenance. I know a lot of inspectors do, warranty inspections, stuff like that. So I think it's a smart thing, especially if you're not getting in your crawl space or your attic or looking at your plumbing, electrical, stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
um, that can also be super helpful to market yourself in other areas instead of the buying process itself. How do you specifically work with home inspectors to ensure that your clients are getting the most accurate and helpful information with their new home?
Yeah. So so one moment. So how I work with them, I definitely start at that consultation, right? So, like, as soon as I take my client under my wing, I talk to them about one of the biggest parts of buying a home is the inspection and negotiating, right? So, those aren't things you have to have. You don't have to have a home inspection, but I recommend it. I
Right,
definitely recommend it. And you want to know what's up with your home. You want to look for the red flags before you move into it, right? So, inspectors are going to be looking for everything. They're going to check light switches. They're going to check crawl spaces. They're going to check your major systems. But when I got with my real estate coach, one of the things that she always says is the Fab Five. And if you've ever watched Queer Eye, like, you know who the Fab Five are. The Fab Five in real estate and in inspections are your major systems. So you're looking at your roof, you're looking at your electrical, plumbing, HVAC, foundation.
Mhm.
Those are your big five, right? Those are
Mhm.
going to cost you the most money if they are failing or breaking. So I tell my clients to focus on those things. Like if there's a broken light switch or like a plate for a light switch that's broken, that's not going to be probably as important to you as a roof that's caving in
Right.
or something like that, or a leak. Um, or a crawl space that has some water intrusion, you know? So I always prepare them by saying, hey, look, let's look at that and let's find a way to navigate through this. So I usually say, let's work with a contractor that can itemize the report for us and give us an estimate for each thing, even that little busted plate, right?
Mhm.
That might be 92 cents. But the roof, if you need a new roof, it could be 15,000 plus dollars, right?
Right.
So we're I try to help my clients understand that there are ways to go around this so that we can negotiate the best thing for them, you know, and get them
Right.
to the house um, with the knowledge of all the different systems of the house that could potentially go wrong. Or, um, you know, I'm just trying to get them the best deal and help them get into that
Right.
with, you know, the knowledge of everything.
Right. Yeah, you have their best interest at heart, and
Right,
I
exactly.
think just, establishing that trust between you and your client in the first place, will help them lean into trusting what you say, knowing that you have their best intentions. Um,
Exactly.
do you have any situations where you helped somebody through the home buying process that was maybe relocating or investing in a property in a new area that maybe they couldn't go to the property itself? Have you ever experienced
Yeah.
any situations like that? Do you try to find home inspectors that do videos in their reports, or how do you ensure and guide your clients through that process of relocating if they're not in the area?
So when I had a client, they moved from Indiana to Asheville and they had never been here before. They just knew that they wanted to be here. And they weren't able to come down here to visit or be able to see the house in person. So, as far as my job, obviously we started the consult. We set up the search, and then every single time we walked into a house, I would have my video up and I would have it going so that we could FaceTime through the whole thing, take a
Right.
video for them and take pictures. Once they picked a home out and they liked the location, I made sure that they Google Earthed everything. They knew exactly where the
Right.
Whole Foods was and the Trader Joe's and everything
Yeah.
else that they wanted to be close to. After that, when we set up the time for the inspection, um, I told the inspector straight, like I just told them, hey, um, our client, because after after we decide on a home inspector, they become our clients, right? The inspector and I share a client. So I said,
Right.
our client doesn't live here, right?
Right.
So in the report, they put a bunch of video,
Mhm.
but then they also, at the end of every inspection, the inspector takes about 15-20 minutes to go through the major things with the client, typically, if they're able to be on site. But in this case, we did a FaceTime video, and the inspector and I went back through the house with the FaceTime, and we're able to show the clients exactly what things either needed a repair or replace, or that was a cause for concern. The inspector even took my phone into the crawl space and into the attic. I did not
Right.
pop but I didn't go into the crawl space,
Yeah.
but they were able to show them, "Hey, look, these are some things that need work. We need to tack back up these, little pieces of insulation," you know, everything else. But having that video on their report also really helped them out too because they were able to
Right.
go back through it. I always tell my clients, like, take a little bit of time, you and your partner or yourself, like, go through that report one thing at a time. We will get that itemized. I use transaction contractor to itemize for my reports, like $99, and they get it done in 3 days, and they itemize everything on that list for you. And if there's a cause for concern that was not mentioned on the report, they'll do that too. They'll itemize that for you too, and it's always a range, right?
Right.
So I always I I put it in a spreadsheet, and I start with the highest thing on there,
Right.
and we say, hey, look, is this an important thing? Yes, no, and then we go down the list together.
Right.
A little bit of extra time, but it ensures that your client's getting everything out of the report that they wanted or that they needed to look at, and they know how much things are going to cost.
Right. Yeah. I think that having videos in your reports, just going back to that part of just
Yeah.
the answer that you gave, um, not only sets yourself up in a inspector's perspective for potential real estate agents to remember, oh, I know that Glenn always does videos in his reports. He would be great for working with this client who's out of state. Because it gives you another inside look at what a photo can't maybe give in detail.
Yeah.
So the videos are really nice, and having the interactive reports that HomeGauge provides makes it super easy for customers to look at their reports, look at 360 images, their videos.
Mhm.
And now our web report writer app also allows for videos. So whatever platform you're using with HomeGauge, you have that ability to add videos to your reports, which can come really in handy for people that need more detail and can't be here in person. So that's amazing.
Exactly. I love that too. I mean, they can always go back to it too,
Right,
as long as they have the report in their email. So
right,
that's always nice too. So like if they move in a couple months later down the track, they need to remind themselves of something, it's right there.
right, right. That's amazing. Um, Now you seem very on top of just keeping your connections. What role does proactive communication play in your relationship with your clients, and how do you ensure that you're meeting their needs? And do you have any follow-up techniques that you keep in place to just stay on track and keep that connection going?
I use my calendar a lot. I
Right.
use my CRM. I try to send notes to my former clients. A lot of them end up being my friends. So,
Yeah.
my wife and I like to entertain at our house too. So we will throw um, little parties here and there, probably quarterly, and we'll invite all my past clients, and we'll do a little thing. My birthday's on December 31st, which is kind of a awesome birthday party.
Wow. Yeah.
So so we luckily, we had a connection. We were able to rent out a space at, Daddy Mac's downtown Asheville, which has, like, a little loft area last year for my
Right.
birthday, and I invited all my past clients to that, and they all got to meet each other. Everybody has, such different walks of life, so it was really cool to have them connect
Right.
with each other. I even invited some of my real estate friends too, so it was awesome just to have everybody right there, celebrating the new year together, and my birthday, but the new
I
year
love
more
that.
importantly. So I do try to do things like that, but I think that thank you notes are huge to
Yeah.
people. Just thanking them for their time, thanking them for choosing me to be part of their journey.
Right.
Even sometimes, like, I've had clients that have given me, I don't know, like little tidbits of like help with, especially since I am a new parent. Um, when they've had like if they have kids and they just tell me like, hey, this works um, for this, whether your kids, learning how to sleep train, that's the hardest part, and as
Yeah.
a parent, you don't sleep. So um, that it's always huge. So I'll just thank them for that. Like, "Hey, thank you for
Right.
this advice," or whatever it is, and making a mental note of it or making a physical note of it.
Right.
I have ADHD, so I always have to put a physical note down or a sleep
Right.
note down.
Same. I can
So
relate.
that's huge, right?
Right,
So I try to connect on like a human level for sure, because it's not
right,
just about having the same note over and over again or having
right,
a set time to do it. I try to do
right.
handwritten notes. My handwriting's horrible, but it's legible, so
Yeah.
it does mean a lot, even if it's a little messy. So
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. If I got a digital typed letter over a handwritten letter that I could maybe not make out all the words, still going back to making the effort to write it out, I think that speaks louder than, a generic letter that you send to everybody and then maybe handwrite your signature at the bottom. So I agree
right,
with you there. Awesome. And then I just have one more question for
yeah.
you. I feel like our time has gone by so fast. This is so fascinating, everything we've talked about. Um, in your experience, what are some key factors that make a real estate transaction smooth and successful for both the buyer and seller? Do you have anything
Yeah,
that comes to mind?
I definitely would say, like, if you're a new agent, I would definitely watch someone do a whole entire transaction from beginning to end. Even if it takes a month and a half to do that, write down what they did well, write down what you would do differently,
Mhm.
and really start connecting with your vendors. Like, if you have an inspector that you want to be your go-to, really start connecting with them, start asking them questions. They're
Right.
going to be so willing to impart knowledge to you if they're wanting your business in the future. I'm sure they will, right? So I always say, kind of start with your systems, put systems in place. So that has helped me greatly. So I have a list of things that I go through, like consultation. Like, I keep on going back to that, but that literally is number one. Start there. um, I always say that, um, unvoiced expectations are premeditated resentments, right? So set up your expectations with people and be open and honest with them, and ask them to continue to have that open, honest communication with you, and be willing to take constructive criticism whenever
Mhm.
necessary. Um, Even if it doesn't pertain to you, or you don't think it will pertain to you, just take
Yeah.
it, because
Yeah.
it'll make you seem more approachable, and over time it will make you more approachable for sure.
Right.
You don't know everything going into any
Right.
business, so it is part of it. But I think after you have your list of things like A, B, and C and how you do things, perfect it. Go back through it. Continue to have conversations with other people that have been in the business for a long time, and ask them what did and didn't work for them. If you want to specialize in luxury, if you want to specialize in first time home buyers, whatever it is, find the person that's doing that the best, like find the best person that's doing that the best in your market. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, and go from there.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. Jess, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I loved our conversation. And if anybody's listening and they're in the Western North Carolina area and you want to take that first step and reach out to Jess. I'll make sure that tags are listed below so that you can follow their accounts. And if you have any questions, you've all seen how pleasant of a person Jess is. So don't hesitate to reach out. And yeah, I hope you have a great day.
I hope you do too. Thank you.